Let's talk about food and what is going on out on the water with all these ships. So I actually have, let me just show you guys this image. This is outside of California. This is something that you actually sent me. This is that, this just shows all of these ships. Now, this is from last month, and this is continuing on. This hasn't stopped at all. So
yeah, that looks bigger than I remember it. Yeah.
So, okay. So it's probably updated then.
Yeah. No, that updates. So the link that I sent you, that is the primary source. So that's what all the news articles are going to be using. And
American
primary
shipper.
sources are always good.
Okay.
That tells you, and there's a little checkbox for if it's anchored or if it's in transit. And logically, I would hope that there's as many freighters going back, to wherever they're coming from as coming into the United States. But if you start to see more coming in versus coming out, that's a pretty easy measurement. I don't know what this looked like last year, last year, the year before. I don't know what normal looks like because I'm not a weirdo who just watches boats all day, right? There's only a few.
Good to know.
If I could tell you, like, oh yeah, no, this is the Kursk, this should be here, and then there's usually 18 boats, but now it's like 55. No, but you could take a look at the amount of time they're spending and the amount of boats that are coming in, and it is a massive mess. This is a huge mess. It's usually 6 to 8 weeks to get a shipment from China over to the United States, right? Okay. So from East Asia to the United States, 6 to 8 weeks, which means that there's a 6 to 8 week lead time on any problems that happen in that part of the world.
Good point.
And now we're seeing that stretched out even more because that 6 to 8 weeks is now stretching out to, I think the article I sent you said it was like 4 weeks. Some of them are waiting.
Here's I believe this is where you're going with the cargo ships anchored near West Coast ports could face a 4-week delay to dock, raising further fears over the global supply chain, a report says. This is happening on the East Coast too. Not only just, granted, for those who don't know, San Diego is, I'm fairly certain, is our largest dock. That's where we import most of the stuff on the West Coast of America. So this is a problem. I mean, all of our supply chains are just drying up. With it, just starting from computer chips alone, just GPUs, graphic cards, right? I mean, the 30 series is nearly impossible to get a hold of. PlayStation 5, you can't get these things anymore. And actually, Sony probably could have done a better job of transferring their factories from still making PS4s. They still make PS4s, by the way. I don't know if this is another subject, but they waited a couple months before they were like, all right, let's stop making the PS4 Slim and start making more PS5s because clearly people want PS5s. But that's another subject. But still, we think about the chips alone, not to mention, oh man, name something, right? Everything is, go ahead. You got a list.
You got computer chips, you got rubber, you've got steel.
Yep.
You got copper, right?
Which we don't make here anymore, remember?
No. And you have fuel. That's actually a good point. That's another thing that we made. We made it here like 2 years ago. Then we just stopped for reasons that I'm not going to get into. But yeah,
hold on. I want to say it because anything Trump did is bad, right? And Biden would rather give our money to anyone else than to have anything that's good for America with Trump's name attached to it. Period. That's really what it is.
And I'm going to get right into it. You know what? I'm going to turn off my filter here. The reason why a lot of these oligarchs go to other countries is so they can skirt human rights laws and, environmental laws and everything. Antitrust laws. You can be on a board in Shanghai or Suzhou or wherever, and you can make as much grift as you want. But if you do that in the United States, there's actually oversight. Over there, we never ended slavery in the United States. We actually just exported it because someone else is willing to work for bottom dollar. And I wish that we had some kind of rule that would say, if we have fair trade coffee, we have fair trade. We don't have fair trade consumer goods at all. Like, I wish I could just say I got my bag over there. Actually, it came in like 2 days ago. It was like a kid at Christmas. I was like, when's my coffee coming in? Because my supply will dwindle, and I just get a bump.
Fair trade coffee. Anyway,
that's right. So
you're right, though, man. Just keep spitting. You don't want to stop.
No, man. Yeah, I had my coffee just a second ago. Let's go for it. They can do pretty much. The plantation owners are now just owners in stakes in other companies overseas. They can skirt whatever laws they want. Like they can skirt environment. Like why is Greta Thunberg not in China? I'll tell you exactly why. Because the person that Greta Thunberg works for has stakes in Chinese companies, and because she's just here to try and stifle our own industry. That's the entire point. From what I can tell, yeah, you can see how red-pilled I've become. I would never say this like 2 years ago. The entire reason why environmental
logic though.
It's 100%. Yeah,
I'm environmentally friendly. I recycle as much as I can. Your name is the Farmgineer. I mean, I know you are all about the environment and using the land to the best you can. That keeps the land. That's what conservatives mean. Conservative. Conserve what is here to keep it, maintain what it is, so we don't ruin it. This whole push for green energy is a whole nother thing. They're just going to mine Greenland to no end to sell you the next thing. That's what it is. That's what it's about. Greta.
I was told, but I haven't confirmed this myself. It was a rumor. Put this under the rumors thing. Is that when the sort of left-wing Americans started and the hippies started, they actually were not environmentalists. They thought that the environment meant, golf courses for rich people and that sort of thing, because it's not considered necessary. I mean, if you look at all these leftist countries, do you think they care about the environment? So when they exported their ideology to the United States,
seem like
it was like, no, everyone's just an animal in a cage. Just give them what they need. Anything extraneous like the environment and long walks in parks, that's an area that a factory or a farm could be on to go ahead and feed people, But they changed their tune because they found out that they can just completely, I mean, I'm putting a motive on it, but this is what it's doing. Is it's crippling the United States industry, because if I wanted to start a business here in the United States, it is significantly harder to do that than it is for me to do an equivalent operation overseas if I'm one of the anointed oligarchs in that country.
So again, he's just making assumptions ish. But I think between you and me, chat, I think he's right. Right? I mean, goodness sakes.
You got to judge the fruit. You got to judge the tree by the fruit that grows on it. And that's exactly what's happening. Like when I learned about so I've been overseas, by the way, to these factories, working my day job is working in the semiconductor industry. And the ones I went to are good because I was in Thailand, and that's a pretty good country, and they don't, abuse things that much.
Nice.
But the guys who are in China, the guys who would go and open factories in China were like, yeah, this is rough. We'd be in the backwaters of China. We'd be in, Suzhou, be in Guangdong and down in the southern area. Out in the sticks, and the stuff you get away, even in Mexico, the stuff you can get away with is totally different. And if we were a serious country who were serious about environmentalism, we'd say that anything that you import has to have the same environmental constraints that we believe in as the United States. That. Yeah, and then
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, because that's the fair trade. That's the fair trade. I buy this car, I know it was made at the same standards of human rights and environmental rights as it was in the United States. And one of the smarter things we did is we had a quota on Japanese cars, so you couldn't import a certain number of cars. It wasn't just for Japan, but what Japan did was end up just opening factories in the United States. So you have Harley Davidson going to Mexico.
We want that, don't we? Don't we want more of that in here? I mean, we want those factories back. American jobs, American made, or like bring it back here. Can we do that? Are we allowed? I mean,
yeah.
Anyways. All right, let's stick on food though.
Yeah.
So I got this article that you sent me. This is the Yahoo News. Food prices rise to highest level in a decade amid labor shortage and supply crisis. And actually, I couldn't find this article, but I was reading it before when we were talking about this. Yeah. I was reading about how food prices is actually the highest in over 40 years. It's not just a decade.
Is that adjusted for inflation? Is that how they got that?
Maybe. Okay. I don't remember exactly, but let's dig into this. So what's this one all about?
Pretty much it's right there on the tin, right? I mean, you've got supply shortages because of the labor shortage. We have things in the dock waiting for 4 weeks, and that includes rubber, steel, copper, microchips, the things that we need to produce food here. So producing food here in the United States isn't going to fix it necessarily unless we change the way we do agriculture and go to homesteading, right? So these shortages are upstream. They're upstream, and now they're finally manifesting. I wouldn't surprise me if these shortages, and I kind of know they started around when COVID started, As soon as COVID started, about 2-3 months into lockdowns, the international lockdowns, it was hard for people to get chips. Yeah. And it was probably hard for people to get steel. And I talked with auto parts brokers and dealers, and they were like, yes, it's starting to get tight. And that was upstream months and months and months ago, probably last May. And now it's starting to finally affect us.
Desperation for tires. Now, this farmer is talking about how he's got no more tires. And not only that, like his local John Deere, people were breaking in and stealing like expensive, hard to get parts that are the most essential parts of the harvesters for them to harvest stuff. So, and you got to think too, we are food comes from a store right now. That's the way society is built. Where does your food come from? It comes from a store, right? You're going to the store and buying food. That's where it comes from. Well, that's not the truth. Like you really need to know that it comes from these farmers, all these different farmers all across the different spots that are making different things that are going to other places to mix them and make foods that you eat, that's what you buy at the store. You know, we're in this time where if we're having these shortages and they can't replace their tires, they can't fix the engines of these harvesters, and suddenly there's no more wheat coming in. I don't know if you know how much wheat is used, or dairy, for example. How much dairy is used, or corn. Like if those three things, suddenly we weren't able to use them, most foods right now would be gone from the shelves. Most corn, wheat, and dairy. Can you imagine a store without those three things?
And everything that those go into, go into, and scarcity is going to drive the prices of everything else way high. At this point, like what I suggest people do, and I hate to give advice, but here's the advice, is I bought a year's worth of food, and it wasn't like some, bucket of stuff, right? I just bought 50 pounds of rice from Sam's Club like 6 months ago. Okay. I bought plenty of beans. I bought lots of things that were canned, but mostly just the essentials, right? I have a stockpile of just tea because I don't know what the prices are going to do. Yeah. Because the real cost of any sort of endeavor is what's trending. Where's the price going to go? So if you're projecting a cost up here, but now we got this risk thing, and that risk just widens that bar. You don't know if it's going to go down or up. Really, it's only going to go up. We know that. And it took this long for this supply shortage to affect our food. It's going to take just that long for a supply if we resume supply to affect our food. That is a scary thought. That is it's going to be maybe a year or so before these supply shortages. If our government took their boot off the neck of our supply chain right now, it would probably be over a year.
So that's like best case scenario, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm going to add another wrench into the wheels of society. Workers quit their job at record rates, with 4.3 million people resigning last month as job openings remain high at 10.4. Actually, it's 11 million now.
Oh my gosh.
As of when I was kept reading other things, 11 million. 4.3 million people resigned last month. So not only, this is actually really long. Daily Mail goes into a lot of details into that. Actually, you know what? Let me show you this graph. Let me find this. Hold on. Check this graph out. All right.
There we go.
Job openings and hires.
Oh my gosh.
Look at how it spikes here. Where's it? There's another one. Oh my gosh, there's so much. All right. Anyway, this shows the job openings are just everyone's hiring. But guess what? No one wants to work. No one wants to do the work. Farming, for those who don't know, I don't know if there's any farmers that are watching my show right now. You guys do hard work. My uncle owned a farm, and you are actually a farmer. Your name is the Farm Engineer. Is it easy? Is it easy work?
No, it's not. It's not. Though you're checking the weather every day. You're dealing with problems that come up. You're trying to save a little money here, and that ends up creating a problem there. It's all about risk assessments. It's honestly, it uses my brain a lot more than my engineering day job does.
Yeah, honestly. And you're not doing it for commercial purposes. You're doing it just for you, right?
Just for me and my family.
Right, exactly. So you can imagine if you scale up a farm to being able to produce enough that you can make money, and also there's this whole thing with a lot of farmers out there that get caught up in a bigger corporation that they work for, that they have to meet quotas and all that. Yep. That's a whole nother thing. But it is a problem.
Absolutely. The debt that farmers have to go into, I don't know if you guys know how much a tractor is, right? So even the cheapest tractor you can get is probably about $9,000. And that's like a tractor for your home farm. That's what I would buy.
Tiny little guy.
If you wanted a tractor that was actually commercially viable, I think you're looking at 40 grand and then up to about 100 grand if you have a large farm.
So like this guy's sitting on this harvester, that thing's probably 150,000. And I'm probably being like on the low end of like a serious commercial grade harvester. It's probably more than that. It's probably way more than that.
Yeah.
So, and that's one piece of the equipment, right? That they need. One.
That's a mortgage. That's basically, if you don't get a harvesting, it's like you're not even going to be able to pay your mortgage.
Exactly. Right. So it's like they talk about frontline workers, like, yeah, of course we need them. But farmers, truckers, those two pieces are so undervalued in our society. We must recognize that food, yes, simple thing of food, is the most important thing for us to live, because we need to eat. If we don't eat, we die. Guess what happens if you don't eat? You die. That's what happens. Yeah. So thank you, farmers, okay, throughout the last year. And now, I mean, even somehow it's getting worse for them because their supplies are dwindling. They can't even fix their own tractors. This dude's having his workers drive around if they see any metal on the road, because a little piece of metal, they're worried that they'll lose the only set of tires that they have for these harvesters, which they need to give you food and me too, right?
Absolutely.
So shout out to the farmers, yo.
Absolutely. Shout out to the farmers. Everyone is essential. This whole thing about non-essential jobs is a bunch of hooey. All right. Now I can argue that some jobs maybe, but we can't have that argument. That's as Thomas Sowell would say, that's sort of a vision of the anointed type of style of thinking. And you can't do that.
Right.
By the way, you guys want Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell's audiobook form is just on YouTube. Look it up. It's if you listen to that, you probably won't be a Democrat anymore, because the most basic thing here is that we pay people not to work, which is causing a supply shortage. All right. You can't really vaccine mandate a farmer. You can't really vaccine mandate a trucker, or all those jobs that we listed are actually kind of solo jobs. So what do you end up doing? I mean, if I want to be like a bit speculative, you end up just destroying their supply chain instead. It's weird. It's very strange. It's either compliance or you die. And it's bizarre. It's very bizarre.